Hello, good morning. Welcome in to another episode of Good Morning Nasdaq. It is the 10th day of December, year of our Lord 2024. My name is Dom. I'm joined today by Mr. Huddie. How are we doing this morning?
We're doing well. Welcome everyone to the Tuesday morning stream. Good morning, Nasdaq, live at your feet.
Live at your feet. Yeah, it's a cold, not necessarily cold here, but I'm stuffy. I'm a little bit under the weather. Is that what they say? Over the weather? Um, no, I'm under the weather. But we got Wayne in here this morning. Matthew, Timothy, Jay is pumping a pre-market gapper, telling you to buy it. Please do your own diligence. Joseph in here this morning. I hope you guys are having a great week. Good kickoff to your week yesterday. And we're glad to have you in here this morning. As always, make sure to check that you are subscribed to the channel. We post content, long form content every single Monday, and we're live every day the market's open. We'll not be here for Good Morning Nasdaq on Thursday, as we do have our all-day webinar. I've been doing a few more of those for you guys. I hope you like them. It's really cheap to get involved. You spend 8 to 9 hours with us, 9 to 4. Anyone know? That's 7 hours. That's 7 hours, mathematically. But you get some pre-market action, live trading throughout the morning, question and answer all day long. Probably watch us building in the afternoon as well. It's kind of like the third day of our in-person boot camps. But you don't have to leave home. So if you want access to that, you can look at the link in the description. Get yourself signed up. It is Thursday, this week, Thursday. If not, I just posted a link in the live chat. If you want to get in the raffle, put yourself in the position to get a free ticket. But you do have to be at Wine Wednesday tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern to lock in your spot if you do end up winning the raffle. So check that out. Put your name, email in there, and you'll be all signed up for the raffle. And if you get that ticket, you'll have access to our Thursday all-day webinar. All right, Huddy, more hundreds of percents of gappers this morning. Where are we? Yeah, I got a couple over 100%. Oh, both starting with C, Cumberland and Chimerix, who I'm excited about to say those again. How did yesterday's gappers go for you?
I think it's Chimerics, first of all.
We'll take a look at it here in a second.
Um, they were not fun. They were kind of just bleh. They were boring. They didn't really produce much money in my pocket. So they didn't really squeeze. I didn't lose any money, but they didn't really fade either. So that's depressing.
Is it really sad?
Right? It's just not fun.
Okay. Well, this morning you're gonna have another go around. We got some 100+% gainers. We'll start by talking about CMRX. For those of you who don't know, it's Chimerix.
Chimerics.
Chimerix. They're a biotech with a 79 million float, dedicated to accelerating the advancement of innovative medicines that make a meaningful impact in the lives of patients living with cancer and serious diseases. 16 hours ago, yesterday at 4 p.m., as we'll look at the chart here in a second, they got running yesterday and after hours and are kind of holding up this morning. They submitted dordaviprone for accelerated approval to U.S. FDA for patients with recurrent H3K27M mutant diffuse glioma before a year end. Maybe if you want more people to love your PRs, you make them a little less hard to read. That's just my 2 cents. Just looking at some older news here from them. They, like I said, bigger float, almost 80 mil. Overall risk is medium. Offering ability is high. They do have some cash. They have 22.3 months of cash left, but they burn 18 million a quarter. So it sounds like they have a lot of months left. Well, they have a lot of months left, but they do spend a lot as a biotech every single month. They got an August 2020 ATM. What do you make of that, Jim? When it's being 4 years ago, but it is so big, it's 75 million.
Like my brain says that they can tap into it. I mean, I think the thing that we have to focus most on is the offering ability is high and everything else is medium across the board. So there is going to be some type of selling pressure that's possible. And then even beyond that, they could, put out another offering, a different one of sorts. So, buyer beware, I think.
They have a February 2024 $250 million shelf. Same price at May 2021. They got a lot of in there that they haven't used, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So Catalyst is catalyzing. 79 million float. Lower price stock though. Let's take a look at the chart. As we go further back, kind of looks like a higher float, like a higher market cap stock, just in the way it trades. It has been top left to bottom right, but there is decent volume. Like it does trade 500 to a million plus every day. And it's not like what you see on a lot of small cap charts where there's like breaks in the daily chart where it just doesn't trade at all. Kind of have some bad news in 2022 or something that dropped it down into this dollar price range. And the high from there is this 290 area. And it's been pretty much fade ever since. Right now, we're actually at all-time highs from last year and this year combined. Pretty good for them, huh, honey?
Said that they're expected that if approved will fundamentally change the treatment landscape. So this is all just kind of hearsay. It's not really like they have actually been approved with this FDA news release. They did just have a conference call 30 minutes ago. Not sure what happened in there, but stock is still up.
Stock is still up. How do you judge this, knowing that it is maybe a little bit slower of a mover, bigger float? Not when on days it gets volume in the past. It's not like it's supernova-ing. Let me go back as far as I possibly can. Yeah, really no big runs, but there has been big volume over the past couple of years, and it really hasn't gone anywhere. Do you think this is just one of those higher floats that just kind of eats up the gap, pulls back a little bit, grinds back a little bit, and ends up somewhat sideways, or do you think you're going to see some small cap price action here?
I don't think it'll be small cap price action. I think it'll be kind of more of a thicker stock. Not really as squeezy as the other ones, just from its market cap perspective. Again, I guess anything could happen. Shares could be locked up. But I expect it to be much more fluid than like a low float.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't really have much to say because I just don't like, in general, playing this structure of size, like this big a float. When you look at all their information, it looks like real, like their historical outstanding shares of potential dilution, their cash position. They have a lot in the works on the dilution side, but it doesn't look like they're using it all that often.
I don't think they're a horrible stock.
They're probably a horrible stock. They've been under $1 with all of that.
Look at the daily chart.
Yeah. I just don't know. I mean, in general, you could change all that, and I still wouldn't be interested today. Just looking at this daily chart, really not bullish on this, just because it doesn't have a history of running ever, but it does have a history of doing volume. So those things kind of conflict. There's really no history of big gap up days that fail hard. The biggest red day we have is this big gap down from a couple years ago. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of action here, and maybe I'm wrong. It's up 170%. It's definitely going to get the eyes of people this morning. But it won't get my attention just because I don't think it's going to do a whole lot.
Yeah, I would draw, we're kind of jumping into or gapping up into resistance at this 270, 280 level where we did trade volume last May and June. Really didn't like result in any type of run or, really good chart breakouts or anything like that. It doesn't really seem like it really has any structure to this chart, just from my point of view. So I don't really think it's just going to become a runner all of a sudden. I don't think traders are really going to even care for this. You zoom back all the way to 2015. I'm looking at a $58 price point. No clue if they've done a reverse split or not. But this chart, like if this was a stock at one point, yuck, really downtrending. And you got that massive ATM, and you have tons of shelves just open and ready to be issued shares. So I wouldn't. I'm bearish.
I feel like this is a chart that in like 2 days, people are going to be asking me if I'm going to buy the breakout. And it's going to have a lot of volume today, do nothing. I think it's going to fade in the morning and then grind back in the afternoon, do no volume tomorrow. And then I'm going to have to say, for the same reasons why I'm not interested in the breakout. That's what I think. The next biggest gapper of the day is CPIX.
CPIX.
Cumberland Pharmaceuticals. Right?
CPIX.
Cumberland, 7.8 million float. They're a drug manufacturing company. Looks like low across the board. 16 hours ago, the FDA approved acetadote, SNDA. Congratulations to Cumberland Pharmaceuticals. That's a pretty quick and easy, 4 words in that PR. So FDA approval. They have 60 months of cash left, so my math is correct. That's 5 years. It's a lot of months. Lowish flow. Overall risk is low. They got a little bit of an ATM left from March 2024, 2021. Oh, that's been replaced. What do you make of this one? Very similar, but less in the pipeline here.
What is acetaminophen? Is that
Acetaminophen is
Adderall
like no,
or is
that's
that a Advil
ibuprofen, I think, or
or is it
Tylenol.
like Tylenol?
One of the two.
Um, so apparently that's what they've submitted their FDA drug for. The people are taking too much Tylenol and they are potentially consuming toxic quantities of acetaminophen. And that's what they're trying to solve here with an IV drip. Okay, sure. Didn't know that was a problem, but apparently it is.
I used to take so much ibuprofen back in the day.
Okay, cool. So this is like the other one was like we submitted our FDA for approval. This one is like we are approved for FDA approval. So a bit of a difference there, although maybe not that much of a difference. As far as the structure of the company, much different. This one is not dilutive across the board. They do have the ability to offer. Looks like they have kind of a smaller ATM still outstanding from March 2024, and they have a shelf from 2023. Um, they are a smaller float, not really in need of cash. They have tons of it and they don't really burn a lot of cash. So as far as structure goes, like if I had to compare CPIX to Chimerix, this one looks healthier, at least uh, just from a brief view of the company and from my subjective view.
Kind of weird
Uh,
because you say that, but the daily chart is like the opposite of it. Like it's what I was talking about before. How there's like days with no volume on this daily chart. There's no movement for multiple years. The last big run was in 2021, the end of the year 2021. So hey, December 3 years ago, could it be? And it was trading decent volume, over 200 million shares one day. Kind of a move from the threes to the sevens. So there is some precedent to
I would
spiking.
say
But it's
that
been a long time.
the reason that you have that big spike back there in 2021 is because the share structure is better suited for volatility than Chimerix is.
Chimerix.
Yeah.
But very similar daily charts in general that were right around all-time highs from 23 and 24. Doing decent volume this morning at 50 million. This one, I still don't think it's going to run like a 7 mil float the way it looks this morning. Besides that big spike yesterday and after hours, we've been quite sideways. 250, 280, 30 to 40 cents at a time for big spikes isn't as scary and dangerous as some stocks we've seen. It's higher than yesterday's after hours highs, though, and held those really nicely this morning. Up from the 120s to as high as 320, up 134% right now. When you're comparing two biggest gappers of the day, how do you kind of decide which one you like more?
Well, I don't. I treat them all equal. But if I had to say which one I think I'm more bearish on, it's CMRX just because of its share structure perspective. I think that is, if I was long biased, I would not want to trade CMRX. If I was long biased, I would give CPIX a lot of time to set up and then maybe look at it. It still has to, they both still have to digest the gap, and the news has to prove that it's worthy of these levels and these new price levels. It's like discovery phase, right? And a lot of times the news does not match the gap. It's like a little overextended into that area. Good news or bad news, right? So I don't really have a favorite, but I would say that I like the CPIX share structure more for long bias trades. I still don't think there's a long bias trade here, at least right this second. Um, but when I go through my whole process of like looking for a long, I'm not looking for something that looks like CMRX, some type of big float, multiple shelves outstanding, an ATM that can be diluted onto anyone buying the stock at any moment. Those are not the variables I want when I'm looking for a long. And the press release itself was like more like it will be instead of it is, so it's assumptive. So who knows if what if the FDA never comes, right? Like I don't think CMRX is good.
What if the day does come?
Well, then it probably gaps up to exactly where it is today.
That was more of a
It probably
rhetorical question,
fades, it
okay?
gets approved, and it comes back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Um, okay, those are the biggest gappers of the day. There's a couple in the 80 to 90 cent area. Want to quickly go over those.
Oh, let's
QURE.
do questions.
Let's just look real quick. Let's do rapid fire. How would you rapid fire? QURE. This looks like it's going to be a bigger float as well. I fudged up on my typing. 48 million Unicure NV. That's kind of cool. They used the Q and made it high to make it look like a C. Pretty cool, no? This is low across the board as well, 48 million. And this again looks more like a real stock. Like, no, this one's less top left to bottom right, more just sideways down in the mid price range, 5 to 10 area. This is technically a pretty big multi-month breakout over the 1130 area, up 95% right now. Their news today, 2 hours ago. It's all FDA today, huh? Announces alignment with FDA on key elements of accelerated approval pathway for AMT 130 and Huntington's disease. This one looks even more real. 48 million float. This is really nice price action this morning. It spiked on the news and has gone pretty much sideways, consolidated. No interest here for Dominic, just because I don't generally play these higher price stocks unless it's a big multi-day chart that there's more reason. You know, something like a DXYZ or like a Lunar back in the day. Stuff that really is out of control. 1 to 40, 1 to 30, a UMAC, you know. And this just feels, all these kind of feel more real to me. And I don't like real. Real feels choppy and scary.
Yeah. QURE is kind of on that market cap level where I'll start to ignore it. This one's bigger than the rest of them. I'm trying to get the exact number right now.
700.
My main question is, what was it before the gap? I would imagine it's 50% less.
Is Dilution Tracker up to date like that?
I don't know when they update it, but they got 40 million float, and it was an $8 stock, right? 7. Yeesh. Okay. QRE, yeah, much more of a real look. As far as the dilution goes, there's nothing. Everything's low across the board. It's got a bigger market cap, so this definitely feels like more of a real gapper. It doesn't mean it's going to hold up by any means, but this is kind of one of those that I'll probably start to stay away from because we're getting into that, you know, bigger company, bigger market cap type of field, and that's just not where I really perform well. I don't like the players when we get into these kind of more real companies. Like, you have to understand the other two companies are gapping up from like $1, right? Whereas this one's gapping up from 8. It's got a bigger market cap. It's got zero dilution. Haven't even looked into the press release all that much, but these are the type of ones that I'll just stay away from. I don't like these.
BNZI
As a short bias trader, but I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't buy anything on day one either way. So
rare, very rare.
Zero buying of me and a gapper.
You did it on JagX, didn't you?
That was a breakout,
but it was a gapper.
It was a breakout.
So 1% of the time.
1% of the time, but when it's another strategy, right? Like, you know, it's not a 90% gap up and there's no structure in the chart.
BNZI, kind of one of these, you know, the most structured chart I feel like we've seen yet. Wouldn't be surprised to have this one be more lower float. 2.7 million, bada boom, bada bang. Chart tells you a lot. You can guess, you can make some guesstimates. This is poopy. This is bonsai. This is high across the board in terms of overall risk. We're going to jump into that because we're getting low on time here. But this one has resistance.
If I had to choose a favorite, it's this one all of a sudden.
To short?
I mean, just from the daily chart, I mean, I don't know, maybe it can spike. I'm probably not going to short it, but, you know, every time this thing gaps up, it fails. We've clearly done a reverse split because I shorted these things in September and October, and they were not at these prices.
I think they
were.
Twos.
No. No. I don't think so.
I traded this one long.
Well, either way, they gapped up, they failed, they went red, and then they went a lot lower. So this is like, if anyone at all bought on day one, like I said, I never do, you got really bagged if you didn't sell. So any type of gap up here, I mean, $1.50 to 244, it's like 100%, no, 75%, but you're still like way off those highs. Like, anyone that's bagged in this, like that's a sad story.
You're right. I see a 50 for one for 50. That was September 19th. That was before this move. So I think this move was these prices. Whatever. Yeah, I agree. BNZI is the most small cappy gapper we have so far. It's in the 80s right now. Always kind of hard to predict how far these can run because there's so much range for them to play with. 2s to the 10s is the max resistance. But what we're kind of talking about on the backside of these moves is what you see here in BNZI, where there's a lot of strength, a lot of big green days on the front side here, and the end of September, big moves, big range, big breakouts, and then once it's over and the real people have been bagged and the supply is up there, they go back to being poopy companies. And you have a gap here into this resistance. It fails, fades. You have good volume right here and doesn't uptick past the open price, fades. You have volume right here. Then it barely gets off the lows before fading and breaking to new lows on the daily chart. There's just not a lot of. It's not something I'd ever really want to be long. For the most part, buying into resistance, we are way off these highs. So maybe if you are really buried underwater, you're like, this thing's got to double before I take my loss. And maybe if there's no selling pressure, there is some pop, some bounce. Volume is just bless. It's okay. 12 million right now on a $2 stock isn't huge by any means. So yeah, I'm not bullish any way on BNZI, and I will stay away short just because I don't really short cap and craps, and up 80% doesn't wet my beak enough. Is that the saying? I don't know. Why would you wet your beak? People are doing it. Okay. Let's see what you guys are saying. Huddie, did you not short SONN?
I did not.
He did not. Someone says Chimerix conference call going on now. 123 Drummer Max says lots of gappers have zero continuation, zero multi-day. I've definitely noticed that over the past week and a half. I'm struggling to find one in my mind, even if it was green. Well, they were green on the day, but like a green candle was a red candle. Like, I can't remember any that went to day 2, like higher, even if they didn't work on day 1 in terms of fading, which is not crazy, which is why most people are on the short, most profitable traders on the short side of day 1 gappers than long, and which is why it's really easy for me to take, because there is such a big quantity of day 1 gappers, and eliminate them from my system because I only want to play the ones that do turn into multi-runners or do extend themselves even further over multiple days. It's that whole thing where if you're a stupid trader like me, it's much easier to wait for a stock to come into your wheelhouse than kind of guess where it's going. That's what I've always thought.
What was the question?
I was just talking.
Oh, got it.
Lower price, lower float stocks are usually the ones that are going to dilute on you, someone said, and ruin the multi-day move. Yeah, no real questions this morning, so we'll wrap it up. Tomorrow's going to be some live trading with your favorite. Kyle will be here. Huddie and I will be here as well. 2 more days till the all-day webinar. If you missed the beginning, I threw the raffle box into the live chat. If you are interested, but like only 12% interested, and you'd only go if you got a free ticket, sign up for that. Show up to Wine Wednesday tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, and you'll be able to potentially get a free ticket. We'll be announcing it mid-show. You got to be there to get it. If you just want to lock in your spot anyway, head to the link in the description over at clovertrade.io and sign yourself up for our all-day webinar, which will be jam-packed with fun, entertainment, and education, live trading, Q&A, and be able to spend the whole day with us. All right, all you 4 leaves have a webinar with me and Huddie this morning at 11, so we will see you all there. Hope you guys stay safe out there. Have a great trading morning. And we'll see all of you, YouTube people, 9:15 tomorrow, right here on the Clover Trading